We're thrilled to be hosting this webinar today. I might just kick off by introducing myself. So I'm Holly Tattersall. I'm the founder of Digital Talent Co. So Digital Talent Co is a boutique Brisbane recruitment firm partnering with growing Brisbane businesses to create business results through people solutions. Today, we are so thrilled to be hosting our second instalment with the dynamic duo that is Helen Storckmeijer from Everything People and Culture and Bernard Schokman from Design Moshpit. So today, this is a practical workshop. We won't be giving you all the theory. We'll actually be doing and implementing and creating together. We're talking about how business leaders can manage, measure, and optimize for better team collaboration and outcome creation. So this event was inspired by the many conversations I've been having with business leaders over the last couple of months, as they've, constantly asked, have you heard what other businesses are doing to keep their teams connected? How do we manage their performance remotely, particularly where you've got such diverse skill sets? Sometimes it can be really hard to measure and understand where people's heads are at when they're working remotely. So in a moment, I'll pass over to Helen, who will be sharing more about engagement and collaboration. And as always, these insights will be based on some very thorough research. She loves the research. She's constantly sending us white papers, which I love about Helen. She's my go-to for any insights. And then she'll also be sharing more about her practical lived experience from her impressive career. We'll then pass over to Bernard, who will work through a practical and collaborative design thinking exercise that you can all take away and apply independently within your teams. So throughout this webinar, we'll have a couple of feedback polls and an opportunity for a Q&A at the end. But first, I'd like to introduce Helen and Bernard. So Helen is a well-accomplished business leader, having spent more than 18 years in international organisational development and HR within the financial services and technology industry. Throughout her career, Helen has worked with global investment banks and smaller technology companies to drive strategically aligned people initiatives that have resulted in creating work environments that have increased business agility, productivity, innovation, and employee engagement. Today, as the founder of and CEO of Everything People and Culture, she creates talent strategies that positively transform cultures by attracting, retaining, and inspiring talent while supporting the company to build enduring business success. She's all about empowering women. She recently did a Women in Digital webinar on confidence, and I have to say she has an incredible wealth of experience and insights to share. And second up, we have Bernard Schokman, one of my favourite people in the industry. I have to say Bernard is somewhat of a unicorn. He started his career as a full-stack software developer, spent time as a technical BA before moving into a career of design. He has worked with some of the biggest brands in Australia, Telstra, RMIT, Bullseye and more. And he really likes to work with businesses to understand their business problems and help them solve solutions that will be scalable and measurable internally. So he now is the founder of Design Moshpit, delivering on outcomes using design thinking and billboards to, I guess, get teams on the same page. So from here, I will just pass over to Helen, who will kick off and run through her content.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you so much for everyone who's joined us today. I'm so excited about sharing what we will be sharing today. And again, for everyone, before we dive into this, what you get out is what you put in. So let's hope you are all willing to participate and, well, most importantly, you get something out of today. So again, back to Holly's point, I also have been speaking to a lot of leaders, employees, and CEOs who have been, noticing that managing, measuring, and optimizing remote teams is harder than ever, especially when companies haven't been used to working today. To give some insight in terms of starting from the top, from a strategic and more generic level, and then we'll dive into what that might look like for organizations. And my good old friend Bernard is going to take you through a really insightful workshop that will hopefully give you some tools and techniques to take back to the workplace. So guys, please get acquainted and familiar with the Zoom box down below. There's a chat box, because I'm going to ask you to type in, what do you think 17.2% represents? And Holly, if you could just moderate, because I can't really see what participants are putting in. You're on mute. Oh, there we go.
All good. No, I don't. I'm happy to moderate. I just don't have anything to add.
Oh, you have nothing to add. Okay. Well, again, if that's something that you're not sure about, there are, I can just see them now.
Can you see the comments now? Okay.
Yeah. Disengagement of staff, percentage of the workforce going to the office now. That's a tiny percentage. It's actually, if I can get my system to work, is the percentage of disengaged employees in Australia. Well done, Rachel. If I had a box of chocolates, you'd be getting one right now. So that is absolutely right. And more staggering, what do you think this represents? Again, if you could use the chat box just for a wild guess. Anyone? It's actually the cost of disengagement to the Australian economy in lost productivity. That's a staggering number. But let's make this actually a bit more realistic and bring it back to you know, what we understand as disengagement. So again, I'm not going to leave you off the hook, everyone. So how does disengagement happen? And just for the sake of a definition today, disengagement is are those employees who come to work, do the very minimum, and also bring that unhappiness to work. And what that can often lead to is creating toxic teams, toxic environments, and spread that negativity across the company. But how does it happen? How does it start? So everyone on the call, if you could just maybe look back at your own experience and think of those times when you potentially felt a little disengaged. When they feel the company doesn't care, absolutely. Not being clear on the direction of the company, 100%, very true. What else? What else comes to mind? Lack of recognition, not being heard. Absolutely. Amanda, hi. So nice to see you. Not understanding how work helps the company. Lack of career development, no company higher purpose. Oh my God, you guys are on fire. That's absolutely right. So if we go back to the previous slide, which I have to get back to, it really is about poor management, poor leadership, and that has really been emphasized during COVID. I've spoken to some employees who've told me, my manager's become the best manager ever. I've met his kids, I've met the dog, etc. And so all of a sudden, there's a much more intimate relationship with the manager. Conversely, I've spoken to employees whose managers have literally gone back into their cave and stopped communicating, not appearing when they said they would, or rescheduling meetings all the time. So again, we cannot undermine the importance of leadership and management at this stage. Lack of career growth, poor communication, more important than ever to communicate all the time, regularly, often and openly. Lack of recognition, as people said, lack of training, excessive workloads. Imagine those companies that have had to stand down individuals and make people redundant, and that leaves everyone else pick up the workload. That really leads to burnout and stress as well. Lack of tools and resources. You know, some people are now lost with, or things are being automated, and all of a sudden they feel they've lost their raison d'etre in the company. Lack of collaboration, under stress, under times of stress, individuals tend to go into their own shell. And also because it's the fight or flight mode that we tend to engage in. And that means sometimes I'd rather do things quickly on my own. And now that I'm working alone, it's easier. So collaboration is absolutely paramount. So the cost of disengagement, if we take that to a more real level, as in company level, I really want to share this with you because it's quite staggering what comes from this. So this is Gallup's. This is according to Gallup and its research. Gallup is one of the largest organizations in the world. It's an American company that that tops the charts on employee engagement, and tools and surveys and resources around that. So disengaged employees have 37% higher absenteeism, 18% lower productivity, which translates into 15% lower profitability. Now, if we bring that down and translate that into dollars, that's 34% of disengaged employees' annual salary, or $3,400 for every $10,000 they make. Now, let's put that into a hypothetical example. Let's assume a median salary across Australia is $60,000. I went on to Google the other day and I found it was $90,800, which to me sounded a bit high. But for argument's sake, let's make it $60,000. A total workforce of 1,000 people, and disengaged employees, remember the 17.2, we're bringing that back in, and that gives us 172 disengaged employees. Guess how much that costs a company from a lack of productivity perspective? A whopping $3.51 million. That's huge. So with that in mind, let's look at the flip side of this, and how do you go from disengaged to engaged? And again, as Holly said, I love my research. So I will start with some research. In the Harvard Business Review, and I'm going to refer back to the crisis, the global financial crisis of 2008, because that was a really defining moment to the economy as well. And it was a really good testing ground in terms of how companies, those that performed well or not so well, and what they all had in common. So the Harvard Business Review did a decade of studies across all industries, including manufacturing, healthcare, financial services, law firms, etc. And what that showed was that collaboration leads to sustainably higher commercial performance. And we're going to delve into this a little deeper because it's so incredibly important. And by doing that, I want to bring in this graph, which I think tells the story really well. So these are the dollar benefits of collaboration, so in terms of revenue for companies. And what we have in front of us is just a graph that the Harvard Business Review, because they did it over a decade, what I want to emphasize is, is the graph where the yellow, where it troughs and it peaks. So the blue one and the yellow one. I want to bring your attention to those two. And what that represents is the blue line is a cohort of law firms. This was taken, they gave this example looking at law firms. And what they noticed was that they actually fared better than their competitors for the simple reason that the crisis brought out of them a real collaborative and participative kind of culture. So not only did they consult with their partners, they brought their clients into the mix. They consulted their employees at all levels of the hierarchies. Conversely, the yellow line actually shows us the law firms that went the complete opposite way. And instead of collaborating, they hoarded clients, they hoarded business, they didn't share information across the company. They literally just went in it, each for themselves. And the fight or flight, again, stress does horrible things to people, as we know. So I think this is quite a poignant graph that really brings it home. Collaboration is is the foundation of everything. Okay, so after that doom and gloom, let's look at our current and future reality. And with that in mind, McKinsey & Company, one of the top consultancies in the world, did a study back in 2017. And what they discovered through that study was that there was an uptick in business choosing to link their organizational goals to key strategic objectives, and from there converting those into team performance goals. Resulting from that was an increased sense of accountability, grasp of the direct impact of their performance. So really bringing in that sense of meaning to their work. And that's what we're going to really hone in on today. And Bernard is going to help us make this come alive through the design thinking billboard that he's going to share with us later. So just to summarize, the crisis like COVID highlights the importance of effective collaboration for that long-term commercial success, but also improved engagement. So where do we start with all this? I think someone said it initially in the poll, where if you don't have that sense of purpose and you don't feel the company has a sense of purpose, you just come to work to do your job and go home. However, companies have a beautiful opportunity right now coming out of, well, the pandemic is continuing, so it's sort of business as usual. However, what a fantastic opportunity. In Australia, it's end of financial year for a lot of companies. I know in Europe and the States, it's December. But what a great opportunity to look back with everything that's happened over the last few months and reconsider, has our company lost its purpose? Are we still all about that initial purpose? If not, what is our purpose? And this is really about how do you contribute to the greater good, the community, the world we live in. And we're going to have an increased workforce with millennials, and they want to know. They want to be part of something bigger than themselves. But all employees stand for that, and they want to come to work to do good. They don't come to work to do a shit job, excuse my language, but they really do come to work to give their very best. So what does that mean? So once you got that purpose, is understanding what the company stands for and how are you going to exude the behaviors that will help your company move to the next milestone. And that comes under that whole sense, the vision of the company. So where are we going? What do we aspire to achieve? What is our mission? And what do we do it for? And again, that mission needs to be a really compelling mission so that employees can come to work and go, yes, I'm part of that. I'm contributing to the company's success. So the strategic objectives are like your roadmap. And they're going to be the ones that set out the plan, the goals, and the procedures and the sequencing of how you're going to get to the overall goals of the company to establish that mission and that vision. And then finally, each individual will have certain sets of actions, outcomes, and KPIs, obviously, that will underpin those strategic objectives. And again, it's questions like, what does success look like? And who is accountable for this? Who is the owner of this, etc. So it really is a joint effort amongst teams, individuals, and the company as a whole. Now, what I was going to share with you today is I was the global head of people and culture at Megaport for almost 3 years. And I think this case study might hopefully help all this come alive. So when I came on board, my remit was to transform the culture. I was lucky enough, I had a CEO who had also just started the same month as me. So we joined forces and ensured that people became our prime focus and our priority. So just to give you an insight in terms of our metrics, we had terrible ratings on Glassdoor. We had a revolving door of 45% attrition rate, of which 43% were regretted leavers. And what that means is the people you don't want to leave, so your high performers, those are the regretted leavers. We had an employee net promoter score of 3 out of 10, not great, out of 68 employees. Now, like everything, you need to start with a baseline. So I brought in Culture Amp, a fantastic culture platform, a software platform that does cultural surveys and many more things. And it gave us a really good understanding of where employees felt the big gaps were across the company, their concerns, their worries, and what they wanted to see different. So that led to focus groups across the region. So I looked after APAC, North America, and Europe. And so I established focus groups for each region because they all wanted different things, which was very interesting from a cultural standpoint. But what transpired from this was that there were 3 quick wins for us to have. And I always work in 3s because you can't change everything overnight. Everything starts with one single step. As Lao Tzu once said, every journey starts with a single step. I'm a big believer of that. So I focused on 3 core things that came out of the survey. Lack of recognition, poor communication, and poor leadership capability across the company. So what did we do? We literally, I started with the recruitment process. So as you can imagine, we were a startup. And as startups have it, for those of you who are in startup mode, you could probably relate to this, but it's friends and family, right? And so you bring in your friends and family, and it doesn't always fit the culture. And as we started to mature as a company, those individuals who preferred startup mentality left the company. So we had to really reestablish what culture we wanted to create to support Megaport to becoming a successful company, which it already was, by the way, but we needed the right culture to take it on that journey. So with recruitment, I streamlined the recruitment process, put a really robust process in place. We automated things, we educated managers, ensured everyone was clear what was expected. The way we went about interviewing candidates started with a cultural fit. And that was on the back of an executive offsite we had, where we decided, and also with the participation of all employees, we established 4 core values. Those values were accelerate, collaborate, innovate, and celebrate. And those had underpinning behaviors. And we got all our employees to feed and input what a great colleague was like, and what values they exuded, and what behaviors they were all about, and character traits. So we ensured that everyone had felt heard. We included those in what became our 4 core values, and we weaved those into every single people initiative at Megaport, starting with selection when we interviewed candidates. And it's simple questions such as, other than your wife, your child, or your licking dog, what gets you up in the morning? Really trying to understand what they were passionate about and what made their heart sing. And buzzwords we were always looking for were, making a difference, adding value, solving problems, getting over challenges, working with teams and intelligent people. We had a collective genius at Megaport that we needed to unleash, and we could only do that by collaborating together. And so as we went on, and as we replaced the levers and started replacing them with the right mindset, we started to see a huge uplift in our satisfaction scores, our employee net promoter score, but also the feedback we were receiving from employees. So I did presentations every quarter in terms of what we'd achieved, what we were about to focus on for the next quarter, and where we needed everyone's help in making that happen. So and we also had pulse surveys every quarter just to make sure that everyone was on the same page as us. I'm just looking at some chats that are coming through. Okay, we're recording this. Yes, so for everyone's knowledge, we're recording this, and we will be sending this through to all participants and or those who registered. Now, over time, what was really important as well is communication was a lagging factor, and the CEO made it really clear that he wanted everyone at the all-staff briefing every other week. And that was a really fantastic opportunity for everyone to get an overall update, a reminder of what we were achieving and where we were going, the goals of the company, and introducing newcomers to the business. Then at the end of every week, we received an email from the CEO that would actually encompass all the great wins of the week, and recognizing the teams that helped make that happen. Now, I did workshops with every single team. Once we'd established what the strategic objectives were, I actually facilitated group workshops to ensure that teams felt aligned to those strategic objectives, but also helping them understand, where are you now? What's your current reality? What is the desired future reality? And what does success look like for this team? And what are some of the barriers and the challenges that you will face or are facing, and how can you overcome them? As a result of that workshop, was about a 2-hour workshop, everyone would come away with clear KPIs and metrics that they were accountable for. And they came up with their own objectives, by the way. And it was only 3. We only asked people to come up with 3 specific objectives that would have the biggest impact on the overall team outcomes. So again, the leadership capability needed to be improved as well. So we focused on sharp and short leadership development workshops, and those were very basic, such as how to have a difficult conversation, how to give feedback, but we also trained all employees across Megaport how to receive feedback. For those of you who know a bit of psychology, what happens in the brain when you're in defensive mode is you don't take any information in. You're literally in fight or flight mode instead. So if you have a difficult message to receive, it was all about reframing how you could take that on board to develop yourself further. We also introduced take stock sessions. So we abolished the terminology performance management. We all hated it. And so we called it take stock sessions. And those were basically opportunities every quarter for manager and team member to sit together, look at what they'd achieved as an individual contributor and going above and beyond, then how they uplifted their team and cross-fertilized knowledge with other teams. Here's where collaboration was a really important factor and a big value of ours. And then finally, how did they exude the 4 core values: accelerate, collaborate, innovate, and celebrate across the company and as they were achieving their goals? So it was very much about the what, but evenly important was the how they went about achieving their goals. So with that in mind, we then also introduced kudos awards every quarter, which addressed the recognition piece. And this is where employees would nominate each other for going above and beyond the call of duty and also exuding the values that we stood for at Megaport. And then at the end of the day, at the end of the year, it was a big celebration called the Megaport Legend Awards, where we celebrated everyone's success. So with that in mind, I would like to summarize this into 5 key dynamics. So going back to that engagement, how can you get back that 17.2% of the workforce? Trust is at the basis of everything. So head of product and innovation at Google, Paul Sanagata, he said, without trust, there's no team. And he was right, because team members need to feel safe and looked after and be able to speak up. If you want innovation in your company, you cannot have that without trust. Because if people want to speak up without their head getting bitten off, they need to feel like they are, they can be their authentic selves and speak up without anyone making fun of them or shutting them up. So being vulnerable in front of others is also a huge piece, especially during these times of, this pandemic, and embracing what everyone brings to the team by being themselves. And that was a huge element of our employee value proposition as well, is everyone can bring their authentic self to work, because that is how we create that collective genius.
Hey, Helen, sorry, there's just a quick question in the chat box from Poonam. How long did it take for Megaport to change the disengaged to engaged culture?
So we moved very rapidly, actually. Within 18 months, we'd moved the needle from a 3 to a 6. And then by the time I left, it was 8 and an 8. So very quickly. I mean, quickly as in 12 months is very quick for, just in normal organizational terms, maybe a bit too slow for tech companies, but there was so much to work on, and I was on my own until I created a team and I had 4 people working for me afterwards. But we turned that culture around, I would say, within 8 months. So the overall disengagement, we turned those people around within 12 months. And that was because we brought in the right skill set and the right attitude into the company. That made a huge deal. But also employees, when you provide that clarity and direction and let everyone be part of that purpose, that ignites the passion that people then bring to work, because that is what you want, is that enthusiasm and that sense of, yes, my role actually makes a difference to the company's success. And helping them and just encouraging them to get involved and design their own metrics. And again, Bernard and I, we run workshops with clients where we make this come alive in teams. But I'm just giving you an overview today in terms of what that looks like. Collaboration, as I said, is that willingness to help each other. So it's not like, hey, I brought coffee for my colleague. That's not collaboration. But when it comes to recognizing your employees, it's more about how did you uplift your teammates? How did you help your peers look good in front of the client when they were struggling? How do you actually have that cross-team collaboration? What are some examples? And is that being praised and recognized within your company? And then transparency and regular communication, is that openness. This slide's looking a little, it's not looking very symmetrical, but doesn't matter. Anyway, so what I'm trying to say here is that team members want to be kept informed, and even more so now than ever before. And they need to be in a situation where they know exactly what's going on. And even if there's nothing to communicate, say so. They'd rather know that there's no news rather than no news at all, because what happens is people start making assumptions, and they're not always positive, as you know. So with that also in mind, needing to feel comfortable to provide feedback to peers and their managers, having those difficult conversations, but making them part of an opportunity to develop further and become and unleash that potential in your employees. And then finally, it's that leadership capability I was talking about. So providing people opportunities to improve, to progress their careers, to put them on projects where they can really learn. But if you prioritize leadership development, you ensure that leaders have that more empathic and agile approach to how they manage their employees. Your team members will feel much more supported and recognized by the company, because you know the saying, employees leave their managers, not their companies. And although it's not always the case, it's very often the case. And I can tell you that from exit interviews that we undertook at Megaport. But once you have all that in mind, then you'll get the work done on time and people going above and beyond the call of duty. So just to summarize what I've said, the value of engagement, so bringing it back to the overall objective of today, so measuring, managing, and optimizing remote teams, if you do it in a way that I just explained, can really increase that engagement value. But can you imagine if we all did that? We all did our part and got that 17.2% to zero, which is never going to be the case. However, hypothetically, we'd inject 305 billion back into the economy. We'd have 33% higher profitability for companies with engaged, well, just engaged employees in general, 51% lower turnover because we'd have satisfied employees, and 2.5 times increased performance-related outcomes. Pretty amazing, hey? So with that in mind, I'm going to give it over to Bernard, who is going to dive into this in a very pragmatic way. And again, as I said earlier, what you put in is what you get out. So Bernard, I can't wait to hear your side.
Hey, Holly, just quickly, there's a couple of questions in Q&A and chat box. Do we want to address them right now, or do you want to address them at the end?
Maybe we should address them now, just
Yeah,
I guess
just a few there.
Relevance, yeah. So Sarah Smith has said, great materials and idea in this. Leadership, several companies I've been in tried to make changes like these, but leaders had trouble and would see all new ideas as compliance points that they had to game instead of implement. How do you get people to want to genuinely improve rather than go into defense mode, or worse, going on the attack? Maybe if we start with that one.
Yeah, so that's a really good question, Sarah. And, you know, I think fundamentally there has to be leadership buy-in initially in terms of prioritizing people and getting the success out of them. But often what helps is linking the commercial outcomes with the return on investment. So if you have metrics such as absenteeism, turnover, sickness, and what it's costing the company, and you put that as your business case in terms of, if we did this, we could reduce these numbers, and this is the foregone revenue that we are foregoing here if we're not addressing it. So bringing that back in as, this is a return on investment that we could have if we did actually focus on our leaders and upskilling them. Surveys are really powerful as well, and I think it's the way it's presented and taken to the executive team that will help get the message across. And don't give up. Don't give up. If you get, you know, if you get a no for any initiative, again, think of it standing in their shoes. So what what are their concerns? What are they thinking about? What are they trying to achieve? And by maybe taking a step back and stepping into their shoes, you can maybe create and tailor a presentation that will hopefully hit the points that they might be concerned about and trying to achieve. And then you bring in your the prerogative of, you know, upskilling leaders. I hope that helps answer the question.
That sounds good. And if we can quickly touch on her other question. So collaboration, trust, communication, all are critical skills in new hires, but every tech firm I've worked for constantly fills their position descriptions with a list of acronyms, which results in only candidates that have these tick boxes applying, and those soft skills not being, I guess, considered and equally as valued. So how do you see you can change this?
Again, great question, Sarah. I would have hired you if I was Megaport. So my answer to that is we actually had this problem at Megaport, and what we did, as I said earlier, our recruitment process, people and culture were the gatekeepers. And we also, we had a business partner model. So we partnered very closely with all the managers and ensured that they were, you know, they were absolutely clear what we needed to see in candidates. And we also had, for more senior roles, we had panels, interview panels, represented usually a diverse panel from people from different sides of the business to make sure that we were making the right cultural fit as a hire. And so the way the soft skills can be extracted come down to how you ask your questions and what you ask your candidates. And so we were very stringent in terms of how we went about asking those questions. And that was always the the cultural fit interview, which P&C always did. So people in culture, my team always started with, and we were the gatekeepers of our culture. So unless you passed that, you didn't go any further. So that worked really, really well for us. So I hope that's useful, Sarah.
Perfect. That's great. Thank you so much, Helen. I think that's it for Q&A for now.
There's just a question in the chat box from Poonam again. Were there direct / tangible gains? Sorry, I'll start again. Were there direct / tangible gains in company profitability?
So yes, we saved almost $2 million in recruitment fees and inefficiencies. We also saved, I dare not say it, a lot of millions, I'm not going to say a number, in the turnover. I did present this back to the board and to the executive team. I'm all about numbers, and I think when it comes to talking to executives and boards, you need to come up with the data, and you need to come up with return on investment and the cost versus the profitability in terms of what it's going to help gain the company. And so if you think of what disengaged turnover costs your company, and you count the individuals, so from a 45% turnover to only 9%, you can do the math in terms of, you know, how much it costs roughly, say $16,000 for every employee you lose due to resignations and having to recruit them again and train them again, etc. You can come up with an overall dollar number that you can then put into presentations for impact. I hope that answers your question.
That's good. Cool. Cheers. All right. How about I share my screen now and we'll get going? Okay. All right. What I'm going to share in a moment is a link to this particular workshop. What it is, I've copied a couple of Helen's slides here because I think these are really key and this is what's driving this particular workshop. Just as a quick background again, I've been a very heavy dev for a good decade, multiple different sort of languages, moved into a performance and load testing engagement, started a lot of testing, moved into a technical business analysis, then a business analysis role, and then moved into an area called UX or user experience design, and was there for about 5 years. But when I came into this side of the industry, design thinking, I really was captured because I've been in the industry nearly 30 years and seen it done a lot of different ways. And what I really love about design thinking in this sort of billboard style is that it really addresses two of the key dynamics that Helen's talked about. Trust is one, and the way we do trust and psychological safety is by the way that we actually design and this particular workshop game. And you'll see this in a moment because you're all allowed to contribute equally. There is a safety in terms of being able to contribute, but of course that goes to deeper levels when you're looking at people and culture and HR. The other one that it really addresses is collaboration. And what we're told, we know we're told time and time again to collaborate, but what we're not told is we're not told how to collaborate, or we're not given practices or routines to collaborate. So just pay attention as we work through this particular online workshop, and you're going to participate in it. I'm going to share a link in a moment, and you're going to see how all this works. So what I'm going to do is in the chat box, oh, that's right, where is it? There it is. I've got to go there, chat. Okay, so I'm just about to put a link in the chat box now. Cool, here it goes. Okay, so when you click on that link, you should be able to launch exactly what I'm looking at here. And just note that you're launching it on your own, in your own browser, and you're coming in as anonymous, and that's what we want, actually. We want you coming in as anonymous. So just as you click that link, I'm going to give you a minute or so as each of you just launch that. You shouldn't need access to need a Gmail account or anything like that. You should literally just be able to jump straight in there. Once you've actually clicked the link and are in there, can you just actually type in the comments that you're actually in? Can't see the link. Oh, actually, that would be because, thank you for that. Try that again. Oops, no, I want to take it to everyone. There we go. That was my fault. Thank you for that. All right, it should be in there now. So if you click on that link, you should see a Google Sheet like what I'm sharing on my screen show up into your browser. Just when you do click that link and you're in, I should know because I can see it, but just let me know that it's actually happened. And if it's not happening for you, please let me know too. Move out the way. Okay, I can see people dropping in there now, great. So I can see, just so that you know, in the screen, I'm just going to show you here. I don't know if you can see this on yours, but as I actually tap the screen, you can see that it's just anonymous people coming in now. What I'll get you to do is don't play around with anything just yet. What I'm going to get you to do first is just go up to your magnifying glass here and zoom it up to about 100%. 100% should bring you up to about this size, which is exactly the sort of size we want. Everyone's good. Thanks, Rachel. You're in. Cheers. Is anyone not in at the moment? Is anyone having trouble? I can see there's probably most of you in there right now. Just going to wait a few seconds just to see if anyone's in trouble. Just type a comment in the comment if you are. Now, just before we launch in, this is a space that we're all actually in right now. So you can literally touch some of these dots and you can drag them around. But as I said, don't touch anything just yet. But what I'll get you to do is think about, there were three key sort of, here we are up here. There were three key dynamics that we're addressing in this workshop. Helen nominated 5. Those 3 key dynamics are on the screen right now. The first one is trust, psychological safety. The next one is clarity and direction. That's the company purpose and goals. And the third one is collaboration, or the willingness to work together. Now, what I want you to do is grab one of these red dots, just so we see who's in our audience. Again, you're anonymous here, so we can't really see who you are. But just to let us know who we're talking to, where are you, or what do you think you are? Or take a guess at where your organization is on the scale for each indicator. So if you think we could do a little bit better, you can place your red dot under the we could do better. If you're not really sure, you can't tell, you can just put that in the middle there. And if you think you're doing pretty good at this, just slide your dot. And you've got to make sure that you're, just for the purposes of this, make sure that when you actually put your mouse over the dot, that you change into that crosshair sort of icon before you drag. So where do you think you are? It's going to give you a minute to do that. And once you've done that in terms of psychological safety, I want you to grab a yellow dot, and I want you to grab your yellow dot, and I want you, now if that, notice someone's, yeah, well done, just Control Z or Command Z, depending on if you're on a Windows box or a Mac, will actually undo the last action that you did. In clarity and direction, if you think you could do better, put your yellow dot under we could do better. If you're not sure, just drag it into the middle. And if you think you're doing great at this, just put we're doing great at this. It's going to give you a couple of minutes to do that. And the same with, of course, collaboration. We could do better, can't tell, don't know, or we're great at this. Awesome, okay. And this is good for you guys too. You guys and girls are on the call now. You can actually see what everyone else, what's the spread across who's actually on the call today, where is everyone else in relation to it, and where are you in relation to that as well. So that's good to know. Okay, I'm going to let you keep going with that if you haven't done that. It looks like most of you have put your dot. If you haven't done that, just again, you can just grab a dot. Just by clicking on it, it'll change, your icon will change to a crosshair, and then you can drag it to wherever you want within the scale there. Okay, now I'm guessing that maybe some of you, I'm just moving to the second part of this workshop now. I'm guessing that some of you actually participate in remote teams and some of you actually could be managing remote teams. So I'll split the next part of the workshop into 2 questions. And you can see here in the red post-it notes we've got on the left-hand side of the screen, you're working in a remote team, and on the right-hand side of the screen, you've got red post-it notes in there. They are already pre-noted as managing. And the question on either side, on the left side, is if you're working in a remote team, what are some of the challenges about working in a remote team? Now, we've all been doing this lately. I don't think any of you would have been left in the office, maybe 1 or 2, but not many. So what are the challenges about working in a remote team? And to actually go into one of these post-it notes, what you do is just click on it, and you'll see it highlighted. Then you can actually double click and that'll highlight the word working, and then you can just start typing into it. So just choose whichever post-it note you want and then just start typing in. Okay, I can see you getting in there now. Excellent. If you're on the managing side, I can see people already typing in there. Excellent. What are some of the challenges about managing a remote team? Excellent. All right, cool. If that text gets a bit big, don't worry, I'll get in there and I'll just scale it down a little bit so we can see it. So you just keep writing. Awesome. All right. Exposed to convey information. Okay, now as you're typing, when you actually stop, what I want you to do is just have a look at what others have suggested as being some of the challenges and start to read them, because in a moment what I'm going to do is I'm going to get you to choose two that really resonate with you and the sort of situation that you're in. Nice work. Okay. All right, now this brings us to the voting side of things. I can see a few of you are still typing, so continue typing. If you've got another note you want to add in there, no problem, just go and add it in there. And what we're going to do is we're going to vote now. We're going to try to understand which ones are actually the most important ones for all of us in this whole array of notes that we've got on 2 sides of the screen. So what I'm going to get you to do is, in the same way that you drag dots to the scales in the previous exercise, in terms of psychological safety, clarity and direction and collaboration, what I want you to do is there's some dots just above the actual exercise we're doing right now. And what I want you to do is I want you to pick two. So think about what are the two most, what are the two notes on the remote side, remote team challenges when you're working in a remote team? What are the ones that resonate with you the most? So pick two, and how you vote is you, again, select one of those dots, and then you just drag them over the top of that particular note that resonates with you, and that counts as a vote. I'm just going to go around and fix up some of the sizes of the text. All right. And the same with, so when you have two votes on the working side, have two votes on the managing side. And if you only really want to do one or the other, then you can do that as well. I don't really mind how you address this one. As these buttons, you can see some of these circles are going crazy, so I'm just going to delete them. That's no big deal. Or you can press Command Z, Control Z, and it'll do the same thing. It'll reverse it back. It's just that they're circles. This is the way that I've done it for this particular exercise. And if you drag one of the hot spots, it just sort of puts it out of shape. No big deal, just delete it or Command Z, Control Z, and then just grab another one. All right, cool. Well done. Thank you. It's going nicely. So while you're finishing that, so I'll give you another minute or so to finish that voting. Looks like you're just about there. All right, excellent. Okay, what I'm going to do while I get you onto the next part of the exercise, I'm just going to count the votes and I'm just going to actually list them in these top 5 here. So I'm going to do that while I move you on to the next part of the exercise. So if you scroll your screen to the right, I'm actually now in step 2, trust, psychological safety. So in line with the presentation that Helen's just made, this is the second sort of key indicator that we're going to dive a little bit deeper into today. So what I want you to think about is, how do you think organizations should improve psychological safety and trust for individuals when they're speaking up, you know, support them when speaking up, being vulnerable and challenging the status quo? So in the same way, just grab one of these post-it notes, double click to highlight the word, and away you go. You can just start typing it in. So I'm actually now in the yellow or the orange area, part 2 in the workshop. Awesome, I can see some people are in there already. Okay, great. So I'm going to leave you in step 2. I'm going to go back to step 1 and just do some counting. Okay, great. How are we going? Good one. Okay. Excellent. Excellent. All right. Wow. Really feeling that. That's lovely. Keep going. I'll give you another 1 minute there, and then we can start the voting. So keep typing away. I'm just going to go and fix some of the okay, so now that part 2 is starting to fill up now. So have a look around and see what individuals have written those post-it notes, and start to think about, if you could keep 2 of those, again, if you could keep only 2, which 2 would they be for you? Which ones are the ones that resonate with you the most? And which ones are the ones you just couldn't live without? Awesome. All right, great. All right, I'm just about to return back to you. Excellent. All right. All right, now what I'll do is I'm going to do the counting again for you. What I want you to do is move on to part 3, which is around clarity and direction, and just repeat the exercise. So how should organizations ensure employees understand how their work ties to company success? So jump into part 3, click on a post-it note, double click to highlight the text, and away you go, you can start typing. I'm going to count your previous exercise, trust, psychological safety. Excellent, good work. All right, there's a few notes there. Okay, so if I can get you to again to have a quick look and see, I'll just start to have a look and read each of the notes. See again with two, is there two there? I'm going to give you 2 votes. Is there 2 there that resonate with you more than the others? And in the same way we've been voting on the others, just go and drag a dot to it. Just going to go and size down some of the text. Nice work. All right, very good. Okay, last one. I'm just going to give you another minute or two to do that. Cool. Okay, looks like someone's still working, so give you another. Haven't voted, just finish off your voting, 2 votes each. Then we've got the last indicator. So we're just focusing on 3 indicators here today. Cool. Okay. All right, let's move on to the next one. I'm going to count those votes for us and collect up. Let's move on to part 4, which is the final part, almost the final part of this workshop. So let's think about collaboration, or the willingness to help and work with each other. So this is, we're in the green part of the workshop right now, the green color. So the question is, how should organizations praise and recognize collaboration to ensure teams continue to innovate and improve? So how should we recognize, or how should we praise, sorry, and recognize collaboration to ensure our teams continue to innovate and improve? So whatever ideas you have there, again, just select a post-it note, double click it to highlight the word, and away you go. You can start typing in. I'm going to go back to the previous exercise and just do count the votes. Okay. All right, they're filling up quite nicely. If you can't think of anything, that's okay. Just read what other people are doing. Maybe that'll spike some thought. All right. In the same way that we've done in the previous, let's vote because we've got a few up there now. So have a read of, continue to contribute if you've still got ideas you want to contribute to the board. Otherwise, start to read them, start to think about, again, if you could have two key ones, which would they be for you? Which are the ones you can't live without? Which are the ones that resonate the most? Well done, thank you. Good stuff. If you happen to stretch a dot out again like that, that's okay. You can either press Control Z, Command Z, or you can just delete it and go and grab another one. Great. Okay, I'll give you another minute there. What we're starting to do is we're starting to create a bit of a tapestry of what's going on here, what's working, sorry, not what's working, where we can actually create some headway. So this is a design thinking workshop, and there's a lot of different ways you can run a design thinking workshop. This is just a very basic one. There's just a series of questions that we're answering. Again, as I said at the start, I think I just noticed 4 post-it notes just change size. So if you've done that, just press Command Z or Control Z, and that should undo it. Otherwise, I'll just go and resize them. Yeah, well done. Thank you. So this is a design thinking workshop. Design thinking to me is problem solving, collaboration really, and creating an area where everyone can contribute equally, where we can sort of trust each other and listen to each other in the contributions that we make. Again, this is just a very basic one. There are lots of different sort of design thinking workshops depending on what your problem at hand is. Okay, awesome. All right, so I'm just going to, you continue voting. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to count again. And if you put another dot on a vote that I've counted, on a post-it note that I've counted, that's right, I'll just up the votes. So don't worry about that. There's a lot of different tools you can use to do this too. I've just chosen a very basic tool, which is just a Google slide really, and we've just created the workshop on a Google slide. Typically for a larger workshop, I'll use something like Miro or something like that, but it's more of a collaboration tool that has a lot of this stuff built in. But I just wanted to show you this one actually, because you don't really need a tool to create a workshop like this. You can actually just jump on a Google slide and do it yourself without a what do you call it? Without a paid subscription or anything like that. All right. Now, what I'm going to get you to do is I'm just going to get you to move over to part 5. Now, part 5, you can see it's the blue area. We're starting to create a tapestry, and I'll start to move the green collaboration notes over there in a minute. But I want you to start having a look at what you've created over the last 30 minutes or so in this particular workshop. So you've been collaborating with there's roughly about 10 people collaborating in the workshop right now. You actually able to contribute individually and you're able to scope things down and have a vote and be very democratic about it. What we're not doing that we would actually do in a workshop is we would actually be on a Zoom. I'd be able to see all of you. You could be able to see me. We'd actually be able to talk to each other. We'd each have a turn. We'd actually go into a little bit more detail with what we're actually contributing. But in this sort of lightning workshop, we're breaking a lot of the rules and we're just trying to get the actual answers very quickly without being thorough and just giving you a taste of what it's like to work in collaboration in this sort of manner. So have a look at the blue area in terms of, we're at to part 5 now, and just have a read of what we've actually identified as being remote working challenges, remote managing challenges, our top 5 when it came to trust and psychological safety, what we're looking towards when it comes to clarity and direction. And I'm just about to bring over the collaboration ones now. We've got a few minutes left. What I want to ask you to do is start to look at part 5 with that lens of with the part 5, have a look at what we're looking at in terms of these particular indicators, and think about in the next section, which is purple, and I've actually mistakenly labeled that number 5 as well, but have a look in part 5 and think, well, what are some of the higher level solutions that we could entertain that could start to address a number of these? There might be something strategically we can do. There might be something that we can do as a team. There might be some initiatives, but what things could we do? What strategies could we employ? Or what ideas or solutions do you have around actually being able to hit some of these marks? So I'm going to leave you alone for a few minutes as I transfer the green notes across. Think about the sort of lens we're looking at these 3 indicators with, and think about the sort of solutions we could actually entertain to actually get some traction on some of these in our particular organizations. Okay, I've just brought the, just totaled the counting for the green notes, and I've just brought them into our dashboard. Thank you. Someone I just noticed the note. Someone said I put the same note twice in the. I'll go back and fix that up. Okay. fixing up one of the comments. Cool. Thank you for that fix up. All right, great. Fantastic. All right, I'm just going to go and size down some of these comments just in terms of the text size. Perfect. That's great. And there's two ways you can run these sort of workshops too. When we're face-to-face, we actually print out a poster and put it on the wall. We can also run it inside a meeting room where we're all on laptops, and we can also run these remote. We can also run them half and half, where half of us are in the room and half of us are remote. So there's a lot of different variations with being able to run these particular workshops. Again, the end goal is to allow us to equally contribute, to allow us to democratically vote on things, get everyone on the same page, and just align the team as a whole. It's a bit different for me doing it in silence because I'm normally talking to you all and you're all talking to me, so something different. All right, lovely. Thank you all for your contributions. We've got some great solutions here. What I'll get you to do again here is just quickly vote, and I think we are. Holly, are you there? How much time do we have remaining?
Oh. You there?
Yes, I am. Yep.
Yeah. We have about another 5 minutes, I think.
Easy. I'll have to wrap up there then. So have a vote and on the last ideas, which is ideas and solutions, and then we can understand where the solution we think lies. So what we've done here is we've started out, we've followed on from Helen's presentation. We've identified three of the five key dynamics. We actually had a bit of an assessment on where does everyone lie when it comes to trust, clarity, direction, collaboration. We've looked at those three key factors, and we've actually contributed to what we all thought could be good contributions or improvements in the way that these particular indicators can be done. And then what we've done is we've created what we call a dashboard to understand what do we all think are the highest voting or the more likely or the votes or the post-it notes that resonate the most with us all as a group to align us, and then identified solutions that we could actually take. And already I can see there's one solution that's showing up being voted on by 4 people. So we're already starting to align as a team around the collaboration that we've done today. Holly, I'll hand it over to you at the moment. If there's any comments that people want to ask, we can get to that. And other than that, we can begin the wrap up part.
Beautiful. Sounds great. I am just trying to get my camera going. But in the meantime, I can't see any particular questions, but we will get onto polling. So perhaps we could start with the key dynamics feedback. I'd love to just launch the poll, and we're asking, where do you feel your company stands on the 5 key dynamics that Helen covered earlier? So trust, clarity and direction, collaboration, open communication and opportunity. So please rate from 1 to 5. 5 being we've got this, 1 not at all. Can everybody access that okay?
At the bottom of mine, yep. Holly, I've got hosts and panelists can't vote. Is that okay?
Yeah,
that's all right. Yeah, good.
We've had a vote come through. We're winning.
Awesome. All right.
Beautiful. Okay. Looks like majority at number 3, 1 at 4 and 1 at 2. Any other? Give a couple more seconds to run through that. Any other votes? I think that should be it. So I'll just end that poll. And I guess that gives us a pretty good idea. It seems majority, 71%, are at 3 out of 5 on how you feel your company stands on the 5 key dynamics. We'll just switch over to the design thinking poll as well. So that one is, how mature is your company in design thinking? So 5, very mature. 1, no understanding of design thinking at all. So if you could just quickly pop in a rating from 1 to 5. Oh, no understanding. I have to say, I don't know about you, Bernard, do you find that most companies don't really have a very clear understanding, the ones that you work with? Or I guess the ones that approach you to work on it would be probably familiar with the concept sometimes?
Yeah, it's a bit of a mixed bag. I think some organisations are quite mature. I think, though, in Australia we're growing. But definitely something you want to look into, you want to find out more about, because when it comes to collaboration, when it comes to being able to work together as a team, in my 30 years in the IT industry, I've never seen anything work so well. So you definitely want to start to get your head around this sort of stuff. And if there's anything we can do to help you get your head around it, please don't hesitate to get in touch.
Yeah, so I'll just end that one there. We might, did you guys have anything else to share, I guess, before we wrap up and do a poll on the webinar feedback, like tool usefulness and value of the event? That was such a fantastic, resource-rich webinar. I can't believe the amount of content that we've been able to jam in to that, I guess, what's that, about hour and a half section. So thank you so much, Helen. Your content was outstanding. I can't believe how much you were able to achieve with Megaport. And obviously everybody's really keen to know a lot about that, because it's just so rare to have somebody with that experience having transformed a company's culture and seen real tangible outcomes. And Bernard, that's it is really such a powerful tool when you see a number of people kind of come together and work on solving a problem. I can just imagine when you've got people who are used to working together and really investing in solving a challenge, how valuable the design billboard would be. So really cool. I definitely, for anybody who is interested in getting these two into their businesses to do more of an in-depth workshop, I can just imagine the benefits.
I'll just say one more thing, Holly. Actually, we designed the inclusion and diversity board for you recently.
Yes.
One thing, which is almost like, this is like you're designing the way you're having a meeting with a client. And it's ironic because if you look on the solutions on part 5, the 2 highest voted solutions. So we run through this whole workshop and we've looked at a dashboard of what we were thinking as a group in terms of the 3 key indicators. The 2 solutions that have come out that have got the highest votes so far say every meeting should have a clear purpose, outcomes, and preparation time. Another one says clarity on Zoom meeting purpose or don't accept. But that's exactly what design thinking does. You can actually design the meetings that you have, and so they become more robust. There's a purpose to them. There's an outcome to them. It's not, no longer do you have these meetings that just go nowhere, or that nobody really agrees on something to. So we sort of showed you a way to agree, and Holly, you're a testament to that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so amazing to have those tools to be able to approach clients and saying, this is actually a problem that I understand you face. I have a tool that, we can help work through solutions with you and get everybody on the same page. So it really has been beneficial to have conversations with clients and be able to say, no, I've actually got these tools that we're going to apply. It's just not going to be just a chat. As mentioned, I've got some new tools to use thanks to Bernard on diversity recruitment. So if anybody's interested in having a chat about that, please do reach out. Did you guys want to add anything before we sort of say adios?
So thank you so much for attending, everyone. Holly, thank you so much for hosting and for being the matron, the master of ceremony. And B, thank you so much for your patience. That was awesome. I love when it all comes together. It's such a powerful exercise. I love it. Every time you do it, I'm just in awe of,
and it's
a lot of minds think alike. Yeah, it's wisdom of the crowd.
Awesome.
Wisdom of the crowd comes through.
That's the lovely thing about working with everyone like this. You get such rich content. You're able to make decisions really quickly. It's just a really easy to use, versatile tool. So Awesome. And thank you, Holly. Always a pleasure to work with you. So thank you for having us both.
No problem.
And
Look,
thank you to all the attendees too.
awesome.
Thank you,
Great,
everyone.
guys. Bye.
Bye.
That was